Hello, and welcome to the Simply Business Interview Podcast, a podcast created by business owners for business owners. I am your host, John Jennings. And I believe that most business owners are working way too hard for much too little. And one of our issues is that we overcomplexify things. I believe the answers are almost always within us or within our reach. I like to say that I'm a simple man with simple ideas. So welcome to Simply Business. All right, today we are joined by Mike Mason, who is the president of Lawn Pro. Met Mike a few weeks ago. We just kind of hit it off. I said, "Man, you ought to come on the podcast," and he agreed. So Mike, welcome. And why don't you just start by introducing yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you guys do at the Lawn Pro, as if it wasn't self-evident with the name, but
Sure.
There's probably a little more to it than that.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, John. It's been a real pleasure to meet you here recently, and then appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to be on your podcast. So, as John said, I'm the president of the Lawn Pro in Louisville, Kentucky, and we are working on our 30th year in business, and we're a full service commercial maintenance company. We do a little bit of residential, but not a whole lot. So kind of our niche, if you will, is, the full service. We want to be your guy, right? Like that, anything you need in your outdoor space, we want to be able to help you provide. And most of that centers around maintenance, strategy for safety, different things. So we do snow removal and basically every other landscaping, function that you can think of.
Yeah. So much more than just lawns.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
In this time of year, you got the snow plows out. So all
That's
that
right.
kind of stuff. So welcome. So 30 years in business, but you haven't been the president all that time. So, but is this kind of a family business? If I remember correctly, tell us a little about that.
Yeah. Sure. So I started let me back up again. Like my brother-in-law and my father-in-law started the business back in 1994. I joined the team in 1995, was still in school, had a young family. They worked with my schedule, so that I was able to finish my degree. I have a degree in background in finance, and which has served me well in the industry. And so about 2000, my brother-in-law decided to leave the company. At that time, my sister-in-law had also joined it, and they both left. So I took over the operations in 2000. Been at it for a long time. And then in 2020, actually, it was March 20th of 2020. So right in the peak of COVID, my wife, Dana, and I purchased the company for my father-in-law. And we've been kind of going ever since. I've been a part of it and been probably one of the bigger growth drivers of the business through the years. And and my father-in-law was gracious to sell us the company at a nice marketable rate. And we've been just kind of cranking ever since. COVID was it feels terrible to say, because COVID was such a negative time for so many, and myself included. But for our business, it was a bit of a goal, a gold mine, and just everybody was home and wanted to improve their outdoor environments, and we were just standing there with our hands raised and said, "Pick us, pick us!" And
Wow.
it was interesting. So yeah, we were able to really capitalize on that unfortunate time in our society.
Yeah. So since you worked outdoors, you were essentially free from a lot of the restrictions, I guess, and you were able to grow while a lot of us had to scale back.
Yeah. It was. It just one of the it's dumb luck, I guess. But just that we were deemed essential and we were outside, and so it was definitely a challenge on the business and the systems, and put some different types of pressure and stress tested us in ways that we hadn't been yet. And so that was good. And then just people were, money was flowing free and handed out everywhere, and people had, extra money in a lot of cases. And so they were looking to do things around their home because they were sort of stuck in it, right? And
Yeah.
so that kind of propelled our real growth that over the last 5-6 years has been pretty extensive. So yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. So the downturn in like commercial office space, I mean, we see empty buildings everywhere. That hasn't been a
Mhm.
big impact on you guys. You've managed through that.
Yeah, no, it has. It definitely affected us. I still remember I was at an apartment community and talking to the owners, and I was like, I really think that, because really the office space, we do a lot of Class A office space, which has just been absolutely devastated, honestly.
Hmm.
And he's like, oh, it'll come back, and I'm like, I'm not sure. I mean, I felt like the world's changing, so I'd love to reconnect and have kind of look back on that conversation from 5 or 6 years ago. But one of the things, John, we've always been really good at and able to do is managing through some really tough times. So, like I said, we've been in business 30 years, over 30 years now. And, so we've seen the recession of 2008 and those
Right.
things. And so we've had to pivot a lot. And we really view our clients as partners and we want to partner with them. And so even in the Class A and when things, obviously everything's kind of a trade-off in a lot of ways, right? And so where it was very positive, where like COVID, for instance, was very positive for a sector, it was very negative for another, right? And back in '08 when we had the recession, that pretty much hit everybody really hard. We had a lot of commercial retail. We had a lot of we had office. We had everything, right? And those owners, because we love to work with local owners. That's not always the case, but that's ideal for us. But
Mhm.
they were sucking wind. I mean, just getting
Yeah.
crushed. And so we got out in front of it and said, hey, we understand and we feel your pain. And we went back. We designed several, probably dozens of re-scoped the property and the maintenance and took it
Mm.
back to him and said, hey, here, look, we can, and this was, it wasn't even requested. We just saw the need and saw an opportunity to fill it. And so we stepped in and say, hey, we can cut your maintenance budget by 20%. Obviously, that's going to be a hit to us and our revenue. But what we can do is here's a plan that we can cut your maintenance budget by 20%, saving you some money now. But what it's not going to do is create this legacy cost for you where you're going to have to redo your entire property. And that's kind of the nature of it, right? So you stop spending on maintenance and you do that for a period of time, especially over a year or 2 or 3 even.
Right.
The property can really get into disrepair, needing a lot of capital expense to get it back to the way that they want it and need it, and all the things. And so like that was '08 was another huge um catapult for our company. I mean, like even in that downturn, not that we hit all these record highs in revenues and go, like our sales
Right.
goals were out the window, right, for everybody. But what we did do is we really solidified the relationships, and because we said, hey, we're a partner with you. Yeah, we'll take the beating with you. We'll take the hit. Hopefully
Yeah.
you'll stay with us. We had really no real guarantee they would stay with us, but they did. They appreciated it, and so then, yeah, there was a little bit of once things turn back and revenues back and they have capital and things like that, it's like we've been the beneficiary of
Yeah.
those dollars of like, all right, we want to build the property up and we're definitely not going anywhere else. But you guys, you all walked with through the fire
Yeah.
with us, so to speak.
Right.
And so that's a big deal that for us. That is, our mission is to enrich the lives of others, and we try to live that out through our team, through our vendors, and especially through our clients.
Yeah. Well, and it's that giver's gain kind of mentality that you give and it comes back to you in some ways. Not always
Yeah,
financial, but in
right.
various ways. And when you kind of suffer through things with people, they're usually going to be loyal to you most of the time. And
Yeah, yeah. We see ourselves, we're servants, right? Like we serve our
yeah,
clients, and Yeah, and that like you said, that doesn't always appeal to everyone, and maybe not the masses, and that's okay. We're fine with that. We know who we are, and we're not trying to mow every lawn and landscape every property in the
Hmm.
world. We're just trying to we're trying to do really good work for really good people to move everyone forward. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's it. That's awesome. You mentioned your mission, and I'd like you to restate that. That's not a mission I would typically say. Oh, that sounds like a lawn service.
yeah.
Say again what it was. How did you say
Our
it?
to enrich the lives of others.
Yeah.
And we went through. We worked with somebody just like yourself that helped us frame that up, and went through probably 6 or 8 months of back
Mhm.
and forth and trying to determine what sums us up. And that I won't go into all. We have half a dozen values as well that sort of support that mission of
Yeah.
no, not being selfish and thinking about others first, and things like that. And you know so that enrich the lives of others was really just kind of where we landed, because it's it's important for us, and especially for me and the company as the leader, is to grow people in the organization and grow them personally as well as professionally. And you can ask any of our crew leaders or any of our team, I would say, that we want them to be successful. And even if that means that they're not with us and not on our team, obviously that's the goal and that's the hope. But we want to build and help grow people. In our industry, we have an opportunity, because uh, a lot of our team members have a past, and it's such a huge opportunity for us to sort of change their future. And that's the business that I'm in these days. You're not likely to see me out on a mower or digging a hole or anything like, but you may. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not completely out of the, but it's not likely. You know what I mean? And but where that just, I guess, for personally for me, is that transition to help build, grow our team, both professionally and personally. And we have had all our crew leaders deliver. They have to have a goal each year, for one personal, one professional goal, and it has to be stated in front of everyone. And we hold each other accountable to that. So back again, didn't mean to chase a rabbit there, but with the enriched lives of others, we also carry that through our vendors, paying them well, paying them on time, treating them with respect, seeing and valuing them as true partners so that we can deliver to the end user, our client. And then obviously for our clients, that we just look and act a bit differently, and hopefully that's appealing to them.
Yeah. But I mean, it's certainly you don't come across as your typical lawn guy, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean,
No,
and
I
I'm
hate
not
that
saying
guy
that
too,
derogatory. I
right?
mean, it's like, wow. I mean, this is.
Yeah,
I think we talked about when we talked before. Like, you're not two guys in a truck, or was it?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Chuck in a
uh,
truck.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
uh,
think that's the typical one I hear is kind of chuck in a truck.
Truck in a
But yeah,
truck.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We
Yeah.
are no, we are professionals. We see ourselves as such. We carry ourselves as such.
Yeah.
And when we service our clients, they, if there's a call, phone calls get answered, emails get returned, billing questions get answered. Whatever it is, the need, they've got a problem, we solve it. And it's just, and I think that's the difference. And carrying out that mission of just living out, enriching the lives of others, and just making the person that you come in contact with every day better.
Hmm.
And we just like landscaping and mowing, and those services are just the tools that we use to do that.
Yeah.
But we do see ourselves as, we have a higher purpose, and we have a higher calling. And so yeah, so we want to live that out. And we're good for some, but not for everyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's okay. That is okay.
Yeah.
We're good with that.
So talk about you've really been with the company. I think you joined it a year or so after it started. So you've really been
Yeah.
with the company its whole life. especially since it's a family business. Uh, what did you do when you became the owner? You'd been running it, but still now you're the owner and running it. What were some of how did you strategically, you know, what was the magic sauce? Because I know you've seen growth since then. So just
Sure.
curious, what was that strategy like, and what did you do different?
I don't know that anything different. The one thing that I will say is that I understand my limitations of in everything, right? Like my knowledge, my cash, my like the limitations, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do it alone. Not only do I need a team, but I need to grow myself. And the one of the biggest challenges for me that I personally, I guess, is that this is all I've ever known. So it's not that I have somebody to watch and emulate through my career that I wanted to be like, right? So I had to go find mentors. I had to go find people that could speak into my life and into our company because I don't know. I've never, I know you and I have talked, before, and I'm really working to transition myself from the president and day to day and kind of really leading the company to more of a true CEO where I'm managing the balance sheet, I'm managing acquisitions, I'm managing the culture, I'm managing these things at a different level. And I would say that would be the secret sauce is seeking wise counsel. Right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
and I guess that's it. I've always been good at that, and and having a background in finance is huge because I understand the lifeblood and how a company works internally, just from a numbers standpoint. We clearly do not run our company by numbers, but we do have a responsibility to hit some goals and targets and be a going concern. And so there is that need, but not necessarily our mission, right? It's actually not at all our mission. I believe that through serving others, we will be blessed, and that has proven out through the years.
Yeah, you actually stole my next question, which was that transition to the CEO. Yeah, it was one of the things you did tell me first time we met, and that stuck out because I mean, a lot of people don't talk that way, and they find they'll say it, but then there's then they don't follow through with the actions. It's like I'm gonna be more of a CEO, and then the next week they're back on a tractor, to use.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what are you doing to make sure you don't fall into that trap that you're really seeking to move into more of the CEO role?
Developing people. Like that's it, right? Is because the more that I can develop a team, the processes, like these are the things that I'm skilled at. These are the things that I'm good at. Um, and so staying in my lane. But the big answer is to develop the team and those processes so that allows me the affordability. And one of the terms that are currently, he's our operations manager, and we have a path for him that's leading to a general manager role and more of an overseeing of the day to day, because you can't just vacate a position and start a new one without anybody backfilling that, right? It doesn't matter what
Yeah.
level, whether it's guy running a weed eater or the CEO, like you have to backfill those positions. And
Yeah.
one of our mantras is like buy back your time. And we're always talking to our leaders, our field leaders that we're trying to develop to the next level. Like, how do you buy back your time? And we've kind of transitioned to that one. It used to be more like work yourself out of a job so that somebody could take
Mhm.
it over so that you could elevate, but then that felt weird, and that
Yeah.
didn't quite it didn't carry the meaning as clearly, I guess.
Sure.
And so we've really kind of stuck on that buy back your time. And so if you can develop somebody that's coming up behind you, um, to to take over these things, now you have capacity to move to the next level. And
Mhm.
we're very cognizant of the Peter principle, and that we don't want to elevate somebody to a point of in that they're incapable of doing the role or the job. So we're always trying to fit people into where they fit, right? Like I know you're a big fan of DISC, and you do a lot of assessments
Mhm.
around that, right? And so like you don't necessarily want a high S and a high C in a big sales role, right? And and that our company, we have a high S and a
You
high
have
C
one.
that's sort of moving in a sales role, right? And
Well, we always say you can be successful in any place. It's just you have to learn how to adapt and leverage your strengths and minimize your challenges.
100%, right? And that's it. And surround yourself with people that fill those voids for you,
Yeah,
right? and,
100%.
and that's and that is, there's no secret sauce. It's just, being proactive, treating people well, and just, in our industry, most of the people that have, they're technicians, right? I don't know if you've ever, um I'm trying to think of the book, but that where they're technicians, so like they're really good at mowing grass, and but they have no idea how to run a business, but they feel like their next step is to jump and own their own
Mhm.
company. So they own, and it's easy, right? Low barriers to entry, things like that. So it's easy to start a business, and then 10 or 15, 20, 30, even 30 years later, they find themselves owning their job. And
Yeah.
that never appealed to me. Like that never, like going in to this, because when I graduated, like when I was going through school, um like my intention was to get through school and move on, right, to
Mhm.
some career in the finance world, honestly.
Yeah.
And and then, but because of the working and the load and new family and young daughter and all of the things, I just, it was tough. So it took a long time, but through that, it took almost 10 years for me to get a business degree, right? When most people do it in 4. That's how slow I am.
You were
To prove
distracted.
I'm not smart. I'm clearly not smart, but once I got on the other end, but through that, what I gained in that time, in all seriousness, was a little bit of wisdom and a little bit of
Oh yeah.
understanding of, like, I love what I'm doing. I'm somebody that's on the go. I'm a high D and a high I. And so I'm fast paced, changing quickly, all the things, and I found that in the landscaping world. And what I would say so awesome is how much recognition our industry is now getting. And
Mhm.
it's so much so, we talked about this as well, right? That private equity is moving in, and they are
Yeah.
buying up so there's money to be made, and there's careers, more importantly, there's careers to be developed and
Sure.
things like that. And so, we want to be on the front end of that,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so true that I tell people all the time. I mean, the trades have such an opportunity to be wildly successful, especially if you have a modicum of business knowledge. You don't even have to be you know Bill Gates, or I'm trying any business guru. I mean, yeah, I mean, you gotta have some common sense, and obviously you do.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
and like you said, you're parenting. I mean, parenting teaches you about those things. I mean, every aspect of life develops us, right?
Yep.
And we
Absolutely.
and we learn through those things, and we grow through those things. So,
Yeah.
I mean, sounds awesome, but I'm sure there's been a few bumps along the way. What's a
Oh,
challenge, or tell us one bloody story that you came out bloody and bruised, but you learned through it. Because I know your
okay.
attitude is you're going to
Well,
learn through things.
oh yeah, 100%. 100%. So probably the most like, gosh, I cannot believe I'm sharing this on a public forum and it's being recorded. But
This is going to be
you'll
great. I'm
find,
excited.
yeah, yeah, you'll find that I am, what you see is what you get. You know what I mean? Like, I would almost bet that the last time I saw you, I was dressed the exact same way I am right now, right? And so, yeah, I kind of take that from what's the old Apple CEO, right? Like, just it's one less decision I have to make. Like,
Yeah.
this is what I wear to work. It's one less decision. No, but anyways, yeah. So the probably the biggest one, the biggest one, and it actually is has not been that long ago. So we do chemical work. So we spray for weeds and fertilize
Mm.
lawns and do things like that. So we somehow, well, we've learned how. I won't get into all the bloody details and but I'll just give you the high level view. But so we sent two trucks out that had Roundup in their tank versus the herbicide they were supposed to spray. So
Oops.
yeah, yeah, big time, right? And it was brutal. I mean, it was, I'll never forget the day when I walked. I could tell you exactly how it went. I could tell you like what the air smelled like. Like it just right. I mean, it left a mark. And my turf care manager said, "I need to talk to you." And I was like, "All right." And he said, I'm pretty confident that we sent some trucks out with Roundup instead of the
Yeah.
weed control that we're supposed to. And I was like, wow, okay. So clearly there was a whole lot of breakdown and a whole lot of procedures and things like that. And I do want to caveat all of this that like we prioritize safety. Like these things should never ever happen. We have safeguards in place. And
Yeah.
in fact, we actually just last week we brought OSHA in to inspect us to make sure we're doing things correctly, make sure we have
Yeah.
the right safeguards in place, blah blah blah. And so I didn't want to. I didn't want to sound like we're
No,
this. You know what I mean? Like we're just out
look,
there willy nilly throwing
stuff
stuff around, right?
stuff
Yeah,
happens, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so you
yeah.
you
So
you
now
probably had to do a lot of sodding and replacing of.
it was brutal.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
brutal. Yeah, and we had it was, and the worst part was it was in like May, which doesn't sound luckily it was kind of past the spring, but now you know what I mean. But so the
Yeah.
problem with May is the restoration and the fix. The fix is really tough because it really doesn't.
Right in the
It's going to be
heat.
really hard to fix until right. We have the summer to go through, and so we yeah, and so I guess the make keep a very very long story short. So we owned it as soon as we knew. I'm on the phone with all the agronomists that I know. I've got a lot of friends in the industry, and like, what can we do? Like, what can happen, right? In the process, we actually talked to our insurance company and said, "Hey, is there any sort of help that you guys can provide?" Short answer, no, none. So we were left on our own, and it was, you know what I mean. And so we got out in front of it. We communicated very clearly what happened. We didn't get into the details too terribly much,
Right.
but just what had happened. And then at that same time, we clearly communicated our plan of attack of how we were going to make this right. And so, long story short, actually, we have one of our 5-star Google reviews is from a client's yard that we had just killed. And, but we worked we repaired it. You know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
bought in right away to what we were saying and appreciated that is hard. And,
Oh yeah.
if you ever, but it's a big thing. I was talking to a guy friend yesterday, and I think that I don't know. We're a Buffalo guy. Like we love the Buffalo, right? I've even
Mhm.
had a local artist paint a painting for me that
Mm.
the only animal that'll run into a snowstorm because it knows that it'll get through it faster instead of
Yeah.
running away. And so taking things head on, facing them head on, probably the most humbling experience in my career.
Yeah.
But it was, but we made it right. And at the end of the day, had a lot of respect. And
Yeah.
and that's one of many. That's probably the I probably should have went with another one that has more history. Like there's more of
Yeah.
where you can see the good that came from it.
Yeah.
But it was a very similar story. But it was one property. Wasn't a, it was a we're testing to do an organic thing for them that they were requesting, and it went south. And so
Yeah.
it was several acres on one, on a 17 in a prop on the estate, right? Like
Yeah.
we just smoked it, and
Oh,
but we
wow.
put it all back. Put it all back. The timing was perfect for that one. It was in the
Yeah.
fall. We seeded it back, no issues, beautiful, and
Yeah.
they've been clients for almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And that there's so much, like I said, you learn from it. You've got new processes, new SOPs, all that kind of stuff. And you even had OSHA in. So I mean
yeah,
you're you grow out of those things.
yeah,
It's learning how to work through those things is so critical. And frankly, you need a little reminder every now and then. Maybe not that big a reminder, but you need a
yeah,
little reminder every now and then, just so you will keep your head on straight and
yeah.
your processes right. So, kind of what's next for you guys? Where are you headed
Um,
now?
it's, yeah, continuing to grow. We have really understood. We spent the last year or two really focusing on who our ideal client is and who we are, and we've really been able to nail that down. And
Hmm.
so now we're very strategic. Like I said earlier, we're good for some, but not for everyone.
Right.
And we try to walk that and with kindness, and we know that like we're not we don't it's not arrogant that like, oh, we're not going to work for you, it's
Yeah.
not even about the budget, or it's a lot of it is that around the relationship. Can we build a relationship? Do we share values? Do we, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
or do you value because if you don't value the safety, say for instance, in snow, or you don't value the curb appeal or even the safety with your landscape, if you don't place value there, then we're not going to be a good fit, right? I just need you to come in and not, hack my burning bushes in half, throw a little mulch on the ground, and I'll
Yeah.
see you next year. Like that's not really going to be us, because we're looking to partner and create a plan, a maintenance plan, and things like that keep your property at the level you want it. And that doesn't mean that you have to spend 100 grand, and it doesn't mean you have to spend 20 grand. Like, who knows, right? What that looks like.
Right.
And we don't worry about the budget. It's just, can we create a really strong relationship? And, and so that they kind of have to we kind of vet through our clients the way we vet through our team members. And it's served us well. That has served us well.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up, what piece of advice would you give to somebody out there starting a business, whether in your industry or just someone entrepreneurial wanting to start their own business? What are what's
Yeah,
one or two things?
it's very simple. I mean, in my, we've talked around it a little bit, like, but just first and foremost, do what you say you're going to do. If you tell them you're going to call them back tomorrow. Even if you call them back tomorrow and say, hey, I'm still waiting on this, XYZ information to be able to fully answer the question or provide the quote or whatever that may
Yeah.
be. Just do what you say you're going to do. And, and then own your mistakes. Like, just
Mhm.
own it. Like, hey, you know what? Screwed up. People, we do all the time. And what's so interesting is everybody that I should say everybody, most people, when they make a mistake, they start talking about all these other, they're blaming, whether they say they're not, but all these, well, this happened and that happened. And there was never any blame with either of our situations, right? Like there was some adjustment that had to happen, and some accountability that needed to be executed, but it wasn't about blame. And it was about, what do we do? How did this happen? How do we make it never happen again? So now you got two big drums, they're both the same color. you're not, you know what I mean? It's Monday morning, and you know what I'm saying? And like now those drums are stored in two completely separate rooms, right? Like there's no chance, you know, that to get Roundup, you got to go here, or glyphosate, if you, and you know, for the weed control, you need to go here, or the fertilizer, you need to go there. Right. And so, but yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to that those two things is just do what you say you're going to do. And then when it goes wrong, own it and have a plan to fix it.
Yeah.
And most people just, when they make a mistake, they become defensive and they're pointing fingers and they're doing all these things. Point the finger at you and go, what can I do? How can I resolve this? What can I do to move forward? And I think that kind of spirit, or that sort of ownership, if you will, it's attractive to people. It really is. Like people, everyone messes up, and everyone is willing to give grace, right? Especially when you're like, man, that is on. There's nothing I can do but move forward. Like I can't change that we just did that to your lawn. All I can do is put it back and make you whole. And you know, we never had a letter from an attorney. Nobody ever wanted to sue us. Nobody, you know what I mean? Like we owned it and we fixed it to the best we could, right? And at the end of the day, like maybe they don't like us, but I would venture to say that they do respect us.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's what it's about, and that's the reason you're successful. So, well,
I don't know about that. I don't know if I'd say successful. Just a glutton for punishment.
So you serve the greater Louisville area, Southern Indiana. Pretty much your.
That's correct. Yeah. So we do. Yeah.
Anybody listening who happens to need lawn and outdoor space management, you know, not my house. It's a little too small, but I'm sure there's some business folks that need a good referral. So appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. It's great. I knew it was going to be good, and I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for having me. It was an honor to speak with you, and I'm very privileged to be here. So thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please share or like it on whatever platform you use. You can find me on social media. On most platforms, I'm John K. Jennings. My first book is also available. Your Baby is Ugly tells you about 10 truths that business owners need to hear, but often won't, and how to overcome them. You can find it on Amazon. Just search for Your Baby is Ugly. And be watching for our next episode, where I'll interview another business owner who will share their stories and insights into what it's like to create a great business.